Well, hello everybody. Since I'll be using dual carbs and also my fuel tank will be relocated basically in the trunk, I'll be running an electric fuel pump. So when you do that with the 8BA, you no longer need the fuel pump or the fuel pump push rod or any of that. So there's a little modification that you can do, and what I did is this is the bushing for the fuel pump push rod. Okay, it's a new one I bought. There's an oil hole in there that allows a little bit of oil to blow through that bushing and to lubricate the fuel pump shaft as it's moving. But since I won't be using this shaft or the fuel pump, I went ahead and the guy at work, the welder at work, TIG welded the little oil passage hole shut, and then I filed it to where that little groove which allows oil to go by it is still there. And I took my fuel pump push rod that I won't be using, cleaned it up a little bit, and my plan is to slide that on there just a little bit, proud of the end of it, and I'll put a bead of weld around there, and then later on I'll cut it off there. Then I'll insert it, and that'll still give me my oil around that groove, and not allow, if you don't put this rod or a plug or some other modification in this hole, from what I've read, the oil mist will come through here and then mist out of the original fuel pump hole, which is here, although I'll have a plate on it and a little filter, but I still don't want all that oil and mist going through my filter. So that's my plan. That's what I'll be doing on that. Alright, and there she is, all done. Alright, I got the intake manifold runners port match now to the gasket. Came out pretty good. Again, I didn't open them up a whole lot down deep or anything. I just kind of, from where they were marked, where the gasket hole is, I kind of just tapered them into there. There's one of these ports that are pretty thin between this side and then the outside aluminum. But anyway, came out good. That should help it flow a little bit. I just went down to 120 grit, which should be good for that. Don't want them too smooth. But anyway, that portion's done. Onward. Sitting out here in the garage doing some work. Maybe not the most exciting thing in the world, but necessary anyway. What I've been doing is cleaning up these lifters. And when I bought my 1939 donor car, these lifters were in the block. Back in the day, the big thing was Johnson adjustable lifters, and since this thing had been sitting in the woods for, I don't know, 40 years or so, when I tore the engine apart, I believe these are the old Johnson lifters. So I figured they would be worth cleaning up and keeping. I like using the stuff that they did use back in the day, so worth a little bit of my time to clean them up. And what I've been doing is ran them through the parts washer, clean them up a little bit, put them in my vise here, and make sure there's a good amount of resistance to moving these adjusting bolts here, these threads. That's pretty good resistance there. If they're a little bit loose, you can tighten them up by squeezing the screw in the vise a little bit. But that one's good, so I don't have to mess with that. Just using a little 3M pad here, the maroon one, the red one. Just trying to clean up a little bit of the corrosion and oxidation, whatever's on here, just to clean them up a little bit. You can tell there's a little bit of rust starting and stuff. I don't know what kind of metal it's made out of. Probably a hardened steel. Good quality metal. You won't find this quality of metal in the reproduction stuff. It's just probably, you know, China junky metal. So I think it's worth cleaning these up if they're in good shape. Saves me a little bit of money. And I got it in my mind that I'm using what they would have used back in the day. It's kind of cool. And, you know, takes a few hours, but not too big of a deal. Rubbing the sides of it, make sure I don't feel any burrs or anything, corrosion or any sharp edges. Just cleaning them up like that. Kind of hard to clean inside there. You know, I try to do it with a little acid brush and stuff in the parts cleaner. So I think I got most of it. And then maybe blowing with air will get the rest of it out, any loose stuff. Anyway, that was number 17. One more to go. I also put the body back on the frame. I wanted to do that just to make sure that before I painted my brake pedal assembly that everything cleared that steering column and everything fit right again, because I had to do some adjustments when I put on my master cylinder. So instead of finding out after I painted them that they weren't right, did it before. I did have to heat them up and bend them. So got them all right. Painted them up this morning, primed them yesterday, and then painted them this morning. So they're out here drying. Other than that, that's about it. What I've been doing, I did take you know, the block to the machinist. But other than that, that's what's going on.